Today is November 5th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today at the Big Book, we're going to continue our journey through Chapter 8, Too Wise. We will be reading page 112. At the 12 and 12, we'll continue tradition number 2 by reading 136, and we'll read today's 24 hours a day in daily reflection. So with that, hope y'all are doing well this morning, my friends. Yep, we woke up again. What a blessing it is just to be alive today. And a clean slate, new opportunity to work this program, to live a life of integrity. Man, that's always an exciting opportunity. So with that, let's get to the good stuff. So out of the Big Book, if you recall from yesterday's reading, it talked about how the spouse that's not drinking, that it is possible to live their own life still joyously and unaffected. And of course, earlier we talked about if you're in a dangerous situation or your children are in a dangerous situation, you got to get out of there. And I'm really grateful that's in this book. But one of the last lines we read yesterday says, "Let him see that you want to be helpful rather than critical." So we're going to continue that thought on the bottom of 111 and read 112. When a discussion does arise, you might suggest to read this book, or at least a chapter on alcoholism. Tell him you've been worried, though perhaps needlessly. You think he ought to know the subject better, as everyone should have a clear understanding of the risk that he takes if he drinks too much. Show him that you have confidence in his power to stop or moderate. Say you do not want to be a wet blanket, that you only want him to take care of his health. Thus you may succeed in interesting him in alcoholism. He probably has several alcoholics among his own acquaintances. You might suggest that you both take an interest in them. Drinkers like to help other drinkers. Your husband may be willing to talk to one of them. If this kind of approach does not catch your husband's interest, it may be best to drop the subject. But after a friendly talk, your husband will usually revive the topic himself. This may take patient waiting, but it will be worth it. Meanwhile, you might try to help the wife of another serious drinker. If you act upon these principles, your husband may stop or moderate. Suppose, however, that your husband fits the description of number 2. The same principles which apply to husband number 1 should be practiced. But after his next binge, ask him if he would really like to get over drinking for good. Do not ask that he do it for you or for anyone else. Just, would he like to? The chances are that he would. Show him your copy of this book and tell him what you found out about alcoholism. Show him that as alcoholics, the writers of the book understand. Tell him some of the interesting stories that you've read. If you think that it will be shy of a spiritual remedy, ask him to look at the chapter on alcoholism. Then perhaps you'll be interested enough to continue. At the 12 and 12, we're on tradition number 2. For our group purpose, there's but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants. They do not govern. And yesterday we talked about the difference between the elder statesmen and the bleeding deacons. Bottom of page 135 and 136. When AA was only 3 years old, an event occurred demonstrating this principle. One of the first members of AA, entirely contrary to his own desires, was obliged to conform to the group opinion. Here's the story in his words. One day I was doing a 12-step job at a hospital in New York. The proprietor, Charlie, summoned me to his office. "Bill," he said, "I think it's a shame that you are financially so hard up. All around you, these drunks are getting well and making money. But you're giving this work full time and you're broke. It isn't fair." Charlie fished in his desk and came up with an old financial statement. Handing it to me, he continued, "This shows the kind of money the hospital used to make back in the 1920s. thousands of dollars a month. It should be doing just as well now, and it would, if only you'd help me. So why don't you move your work in here? I'll give you an office, a decent drawing account, and a very healthy slice of the profits. 3 years ago, when the head Dr. Silkworth began to tell me of the idea of helping drunks by spirituality, I thought it was crackpot stuff. But I've changed my mind. Someday this bunch of ex-drunks of yours will fill up Madison Square Garden, and I don't see why you should starve meanwhile. What I propose is perfectly ethical. You could become a lay therapist and more successful than anybody in the business. I was bowled over. There were a few twinges of conscience until I saw how really ethical Charlie's proposal was. There was nothing wrong whatever with becoming a lay therapist. I thought of Lois coming home exhausted from the department store each day, only to cook up supper for a house full of drunks who weren't paying board. I thought of the large sum of money still owing my Wall Street creditors. I thought of a few of my alcoholic friends who were making as much money as ever. Why shouldn't I do as well as they? "24 hours a day, November 5th. AA thought for the day. During our thoughts about the rewards that have come to us as a result of our new way of living, we find that we have new kinds of homes, new relationships with our spouses and children. Also peace, contentment, hope, faith, charity, and new ambition. What are some of the things we have lost? Each one of us can answer this question in many ways. I have lost much of my fear. It used to control me. It paralyzed my efforts. Fear always got me down. It made me an introvert, an ingrown person. When fear was replaced by faith, I got well. Have I lost some of my fears? Meditation for the day. The world would sooner be brought close to God. His will would sooner be done on earth if all who acknowledge Him gave themselves unreservedly to being used by Him. God can use every human being as a channel for divine love and power. What delays the bringing of the world closer to God is the backwardness of His followers. If each one lived each day for God and allowed God to work through him or her, then the world would soon be drawn much closer to God, its founder and preserver. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may be used as a channel to express divine love. I pray that I may so live as to bring God's Spirit closer to the world. Daily Reflection, November 5th. The quality of faith. This has to do with the quality of faith. In no deep or meaningful sense had we ever taken stock of ourselves. We had not even prayed rightly. We had always said, "Grant me my wishes," instead of, "Thy will be done." 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 32. God does not grant me material possessions, take away my suffering, or spare me from disasters. But He does give me a good life, the ability to cope, and peace of mind. My prayers are simple. First, they express my gratitude for the good things in my life, regardless of how hard I have to search for them. And second, I ask only for the strength and the wisdom to do His will. He answers with solutions to my problems, sustaining my ability to live through daily frustrations with a serenity that I didn't believe existed, and with the strength to practice the principles of AA in all of my everyday affairs. Alright, my friends, that concludes today's reading, and great stuff as always. Love the 24 hours a day. I could totally relate to it. About fear. Fear always got me down. It made me an introvert, an ingrown person. That was me. I didn't realize how fearful I was. And I will say this, can still be. And I used to pray, and I still catch myself praying, God, please remove my fear. And there's maybe nothing wrong with that, but removing something kind of leaves a vacuum. But if I replace the word fear with faith or peace or trust, I focus more on the positive word. So I might say, God, please help me to trust you more instead of fearing. Please help me trust that you're in control, that you're holding my hand through this. And when I focus on the positive there, it just tends to work out better for me. I don't know why, but it's as simple as that. I still got a long way to go. God's chiseling away. I still got some fears that I can dwell on. And I guess today was a great reminder to just continue to trust. So with that, my friends, hope you all have a great day today. Please know, as always, I don't speak on behalf of AA or NA or Al-Anon, any other sect. I'm just a friend in this lifeboat of recovery. And if you're sober today, my friend, you're a miracle. If you're not, you're still a miracle, because you have the opportunity to change and you're alive today. So with that, if we're given another set of 24 hours, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.